Hey folks, I'm back with part 2 of McIlvaney Intelligence Advisor. Practical reasons why Americans must retain their firearms. Besides the obvious political freedom issues discussed above, involved in firearms ownership, there are practical personal protection issues at stake as well. It is well known and borne out by numerous studies that firearms prevent crime. Burglars, muggers, and assorted criminals have all testified to the fact that they will avoid armed citizens, homes, or businesses and go elsewhere where the pickings are easier and safer. Burglars in prison have told reporters that they are terrified of shotguns and would never go near a home they believed had a shotgun or pistol. The presence of firearms prevents crimes, as this writer personally observed over 40 years ago. This writer was driving down Interstate 10 near Lake Charles, Louisiana. It was near midnight. The highway was isolated and deserted, and this writer was in the car with an old girlfriend. Suddenly, a car appeared out of nowhere, loaded with 4 very unsavory-looking young men, and began to swerve over into my lane, trying to force my car into the median. I speeded up and slowed down several times in an effort to avoid them, but to no avail. Their intentions were very clear: to run me off the road. This challenge went on for 5 to 10 minutes, with speeds up to 110. What would have followed? A beating, robbery, rape of the young lady, a murder, 2 murders? I never found out. I told the girl to lay down in the seat, turned on the light in the car, reached under my seat and pulled out my loaded .357 Magnum and pointed it at the head of the guy driving the other car, where he could readily see what he was facing. He abruptly hit his brakes and in short order disappeared. A crime had been prevented by the simple presence of a firearm. This circumstance happens in various forms and places dozens of times each day in America, resulting in hundreds of crimes each day, some potentially deadly, being averted. And yes, some criminals are short, but very few, by their would-be victims. This writer has personally heard dozens of such stories over the past 40 years, and in all cases, including my own, law enforcement officials were not around to prevent the crime, only to report on it well after the fact. Bleeding heart, anti-gun liberals, Lenin called them useful idiots, try to deny these firearms self-defense facts, but as always, they are out of touch with reality. Let's look at a few articles on the subject that have been published online in the past few weeks. Just a Shotgun, a case study of gun control in action. You're sound asleep when you hear a thump outside your bedroom door. Half awake and nearly paralyzed with fear, you hear muffled whispers. At least 2 people have broken into your home and are moving your way. With your heart thumping, you reach down beside your bed and pick up your shotgun. You rack a shell into the chamber and then inch towards the door and open it. In the darkness, you make out 2 shadows. One holds something that looks like a crowbar. The other intruder brandishes it as if to strike. You raise the shotgun and fire. The blast knocks both thugs on the floor. One writhes and screams, while the second man crawls to the front door and lurches outside. Personally, myself, I would have chambered the round once I knew they were going to hear it. Sort of as a, guess what you're meeting now. As you pick up the telephone to call the police, you know you're in trouble. In your country, most guns were outlawed years before, and the few that are privately owned are so stringently regulated as to make them useless. Yours was never registered. The police arrive and inform you that the second burglar has died. They arrest you for first-degree murder and illegal possession of a firearm. When you talk to your attorney, he tells you Not to worry, authorities will probably plead the case down to manslaughter. What kind of sentence will I get? You ask. Only 10 to 12 years, he replies, as if it were nothing. Behave yourself and you'll be out in 7. The next day, the shooting is a lead story in the local newspaper. Somehow you're portrayed as an eccentric vigilante, while the 2 men you shot are represented as choir boys. Their friends and relatives can't find an unkind word to say about them. Buried deep down in the article, authorities acknowledge that both victims have been arrested numerous times. But the next day's headlines say it's all lovable rogue son didn't deserve to die. The thieves have been transformed from career criminals into Robin Hood-type pranksters. As the days wear on and the story takes wings, the national media picks it up, and then the international media. The surviving burglar has become a folk hero. Your attorney says the thief is preparing to sue you, and he will probably win. The media publishes reports that your home has been burglarized several times in the past, and you have been critical of local police for their lack of effort in apprehending the suspects. After the last break-in, you told neighbors that you would be prepared the next time. The district attorney uses this to allege that you are lying in wait for the burglars. A few months later, you go to trial. The charges have not been reduced, as your lawyer so confidently predicted. When you take the stand, your anger at the injustice of it all works against you. Prosecutors paint a picture of you as a mean and vengeful man. It doesn't take long for the anti-gun jury to convict you of all charges. The judge sentences you to life in prison. This case really happened in socialist England. On October 22, 1999, Tony Martin of Emneth, Norfolk, England, killed one burglar and wounded a second. In April 2000, he was convicted and is now serving a life term. How did it become a crime to defend one's own life in the once great British Empire, now socialist England? Just exactly the way it is about to become a crime to defend your life and family in Obama's socialist America. If Obama and the political left succeed in cramming gun control down Americans' throats.